Well, if you look at the pond, you can see the duckweed is back and it's starting to spread. Last year it got so bad our whole pond got completely covered with this duckweed. So today we're going to take a road trip and we're going to get some fish that eat duckweed and hopefully will at least help control this a little bit. But it's a pretty far drive. I think we're driving a little over 3 hours. Hopefully the fish survive the trip.
Got the truck all set up and everything was good, and then we got struck by lightning. Had to do it all over again.
Oh no.
So the fish are in bags with like oxygen pumped inside of the bag so that they can stay aerated, I guess. We got 15 grass carp and they are sterile grass carp. They're made not to reproduce and they're really the only kind that you can purchase in the state of Illinois to put in your pond. So since we had such a long drive, they only put 3 in a bag. We're gonna go ahead and dump them out in this cooler. We're gonna start mixing some pond water with it so that they can get acclimated to the temperature of our pond. And it'll give them some more oxygen since they've been in the bag for a while. That water's very cold. So these fish right here were actually in the truck with us, and the rest of these were in coolers with just a little bit of ice so that they didn't get too hot. So these are actually a little bit of a different temperature than the rest. We're going to put them in a different cooler. You can see all the duckweed has moved around since this morning. This morning it was more against the edges, and this is how the pond looks. Sometimes it looks really bad like this, and sometimes it's against the edges and it don't look too bad. This is in the matter of the 7 hours we were gone. Now the pond has this more of a skim of duckweed on it, and it just looks awful. He came back to life. He flipped back over there for a second. This one doesn't look too good. He was upside down, but he's flipped back over.
It's getting more vibrant.
Yeah, getting him some air. So after we left Seven Springs Fish Farm, about, 20 minutes down the road, they ended up calling us. And I think they were worried because we were like one of their farthest, if not their farthest, people that had bought fish from them. And we told them it was going to be 3.5 hours, ended up being 3 hours, 15 minutes. But they called and said, hey, why don't you buy some bagged ice and sprinkle it around the fish bags just to help them stay cold in the bed of the truck, because we had them in the coolers in the bed of the truck, but then we had the top rolled down and the tailgate shut, and you could tell when we opened up the truck itself, it was hot in there, but the coolers didn't really feel. The fish still felt fine, but we did go ahead and add ice into those just to keep the fish nice and cool. And right now, it looks like every one of them's gonna live. So it's a pretty far drive, but so far it's looking good. So the duckweed is just slowly floating across the pond. You can see right here, it's still nice and clear, and it's just slowly making its way over here. And I asked the people that we bought them off of, I said, you know, when I ordered these like a month or 2 months ago, how many do you stock per acre? And they said 3 to 5 grass carp per acre. So we got a 3.5 acre pond. So I ended up ordering a total of 15 grass carp. Now these aren't, I don't know if you can see, these things are somewhere between, I think they're about 8 to 12 inches, the grass carp that we have. And they're $11.75 a piece. So they're not cheap, but the intent is they're a natural way to eat the vegetation on your pond. One got out. He got excited. They got life in them still, enough to jump out of the cooler.
Heard about all that food and it was just heading towards it.
Yeah, he's trying to go get a meal. So we're doing this because we're trying to find a natural way to take care of our duckweed problem. Now, there is a chemical that we could put in the pond and it will kill this duckweed, but it's a very expensive chemical. And to treat 3.5 acres, 6 feet deep, you got to have like a gallon of it. And a gallon is around $1,600, which is very expensive, but we don't want to try to put chemicals in the pond anyway. We'd rather find a natural solution. So like I said, these are sterile grass carp. I think they're called triploid grass carp, and basically there's something about their genetics or the way they're bred or something, and they do not reproduce. So when you put 15 in here, you know, a few years down the road, you should still just have 15. They're not the same invasive species that we have in our waterways and lakes that are overpopulating everything and taking over. It is not the same grass carp that you hear about in all of that. It's a totally different species, and this is specifically the type you're supposed to put in your pond for vegetation problems. All right, we're gonna put a little pond water in it, see if we get it to sink a little bit. All right, you guys swim out on your own. Got one more. There it goes. Becca's trying to transfer a few into the smaller cooler because it's easier to handle. You got one. Time to swim out.
They all come out?
Yep, they're all out. Okay, think you'll be able to tip it. Can you keep the lid open? Come on out.
Are they not?
Yep, they're out. All right, that's all of them. So when I ordered the grass carp, I asked if they ate duckweed, and they said yes, they do eat duckweed, but they said I won't notice a difference probably the first year, because if you look at it, it's already gone like out of control, right? And the duckweed has taken over, and there's just too much for them to keep up with. So I'm sure that they will eat on it and stuff, but next year, most of this dies off in the winter. So next year in the spring, the carp will have a head start, and they'll be able to start keeping up with this and eating it throughout the year, and then hopefully it won't get this extreme next year. So we may not see much of a change this year, but the real test will be next year to see whether this is pretty well cleared up. So it's been 4 days now since we put the grass carp in, and we think they all survived. We didn't have any float afterwards. We haven't seen any floating fish. So we think they all survived, and they'll get bigger. They'll eat at this duckweed, and we'll really just kind of monitor it over the summer, and we'll really see how it does next year. But if you guys have been following the channel for a while, you know that I killed almost all the fish in my pond last year by adding an aeration system. We got an aerator going back here. There's 4 aerators in the pond. Didn't start it up properly. It stirred up a bunch of stuff from the bottom. I don't even want to try to explain what it did, but basically it ended up killing all of my fish. And I had over 1,000 fish or more die. So the intention of that aerator was to try to improve the pond quality, and I did the exact opposite. But it's been a year now since we put the pond aerator in, and the water is like completely clear now. Last year, in previous years, the water was like a green color, and you couldn't really see through it. But now if you look, you can look through here and you can see all the rocks and the sand and everything. You can just see in the water clearly. I can see in it from the house, and it's just amazing the difference. So that there is a glass of my pond water, and isn't that, I mean, that is clear, and that would have looked terrible last year. And I think that's all from the aerator. So there's 1 aerator there, there's 1 aerator right there, and then there's 2 more around that way. And that's been running 24 hours a day since I killed off all the fish last year. So for almost a year, and the water quality is just amazing. So it's made a huge difference. It's too bad I killed all of my fish, but I do think the aerator is doing some positive stuff. I would have never thought that my pond water would be that clear. If you would have seen it before, it was just like really deep green, and it looked horrible. So I think over time, with the aerator, with restocking the pond and getting the grass carp in here, I really think next year we're going to see a huge improvement out here on the pond. So let's just we'll just have to wait and see, but I have high hopes, and I do have high hopes. I think it's going to finally turn out good. It's just going to take some time. But I think that's going to be it for this video, guys. So thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Hi, ducks. Hi, goose. Wild ducks, Canadian geese. There's always some different types of ducks and birds out here. And we've got 2 mama ducks, wild mama ducks. There's 1 wild one here with a bunch of baby ducks, and then there's another one, and she swam back in the duckweed, but there's another wild duck with baby ducks as well. And right there, those two little ones right there, they're about half-sized ducks. Those are the 2 ducks that survived from our ducks hatching them out. Isn't that right, buddy? Mm-hmm.